Hi everyone and welcome to Bonnie Astrology. Today I'm discussing the solar eclipse in Libra, which is happening on the 2nd of October 2024, and of course what it means for your zodiac sign. As always, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to the channel for regular astrology content, I would love to have you here. I do have a goal of reaching 80,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if you do want to book an astrological service with me, I now have a website. The information is listed below. So let's have a look at this solar eclipse in Libra. This pair of eclipses that we have had in September and October, the lunar eclipse in Pisces and the solar eclipse in Libra, are interesting in the sense that the lunar eclipse in Pisces was the first eclipse of the Pisces Virgo series of eclipses that are going to be going on until 2027, thanks to the nodes changing signs into Pisces and Virgo respectively in January of 2025. But this is actually the final Libra eclipse of the Aries Libra cycle of eclipses. Now, it's not the final eclipse in that series because we do have an Aries solar eclipse happening in the spring of next year, but it is the final Libra eclipse. So on one hand, we have this Piscean energy coming in with the lunar eclipse that is quite new. It's starting a new chapter, a new storyline in our lives. And on the other hand, we have this solar eclipse in Libra, which is wrapping up a cycle when it comes to the Libra energies in our lives. And this is particularly poignant because this Libra eclipse is very close to the South Node. And the South Node is actually very close to the degree that the lunar eclipse in Libra back in March was at. So if you have anything around 5 or 6 degrees of Libra, you'll be feeling the South Node right now. And that is very much linked to the lunar eclipse in Libra, which was at 5 degrees of Libra back in March. So lunar eclipses are about release, they're about purging, they're about letting go, culmination of energies. And so with the South Node now being at that particular point, you may find that with this being a solar eclipse, which is effectively a new moon on steroids, new beginnings, you're making these new beginnings, or these new beginnings are happening in your life because of consciousness, because you've become very conscious of what you needed to let go of. You made the unconscious conscious. You purged some relationship patterns, some experiences in relating to other people, some relationship wounding, maybe something legal with it being Libra. But there is a sense of integrating the lessons and the wisdom that has come from the South Node that came from that lunar eclipse back in March. So solar eclipses, as they say, they're new moons in steroids. Whenever you get a solar eclipse, it means that there is a new moon. And it emphasizes the importance of whatever is beginning at that time, the fresh start, the new beginning. And yes, the South Node is to do with the past. The South Node is to do with past lives. It is to do with the karma that we are collecting, that we're cashing in on, or the karma that we're paying up. So it feels as though with this solar eclipse, it is one where you are making conscious decisions based on what you've learned, based on what you've experienced, even if it was hard, even if it required you to let go, even if it required you to look quite deeply at some patterning that you have in relating to others, relationship wounding, whether you're codependent, hyper independent, avoidant, anxious, or all of the above, disorganized. It can be a time with this transit of the South Node in Libra where we have been looking at our relationships, how they serve us, how they don't serve us, how we serve them, how we don't serve them, looking at our pattern and looking at our patterning. And perhaps in many cases, letting go of certain relationships, letting go of certain types that we seek in relationships, or bringing the unconscious, becoming aware of what has been going on beneath with our patterning when it comes to relationships. And that's particularly so if you have, if you're an Aries rising, Libra is your 7th house, or if you have Libra Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, you'll really have been feeling this Libra rising, understanding your role to play in relationships, your beliefs about relationships, your patterns when it comes to relationships and partnerships, relating and connecting to other people. So as I say, this is a solar eclipse. It is a new beginning. It is a time of karmic new beginnings, something that feels kind of fated, something that feels kind of destined. And I think for a lot of people that can absolutely be a relationship. It's worth noting with this solar eclipse that relationships are mirrors. They mirror back to us what's going on within us. And I think a lot of the time you can really see what's going on with a person by the partner they choose, the type of partner they choose, the type of relationship they choose, or if they choose not to have relationships. Because in this case, with the South Node going through Libra, a lot of people may have hid themselves from relationships, or rejected connections. And because relationships are mirrors, in a lot of those cases, what you're actually running from is yourself. So this can be a really important month to look inward and look at yourself when it comes to why you choose the relationships you do, or why you avoid relationships, whatever the case may be. I say that this month because we do, 2 weeks after the solar eclipse, we have this full moon in Aries, and the full moon in Aries is conjunct Chiron. Aries is about the self. Chiron is about wounding. So a lot of people may notice this month that in choosing new relationships, it reflects back to them some wounding within themselves that needs to be healed, some issues with identity, some issues with self-labeling, some issues with how you see yourself, whether you see yourself as lovable, unlovable, the narratives that you have in your head. And speaking of narratives, this solar eclipse is going to be conjunct Mercury quite closely. So this is a wonderful time with Mercury. Anytime Mercury is involved in an eclipse, it's about rewriting the narrative, changing the story, changing these storylines, and arming yourself with information. So with solar eclipses in Libra, you may find that you're getting some information, documents can be involved, important conversations can be involved, getting the information that you need, particularly from another person, particularly in relationships. I do think for a lot of people this could be legal documentation, legal advice, legal counsel. The lawyers may find themselves quite busy at this time of year. But I think in terms of, relationships in general, this is a wonderful time if you're struggling with the story of your relationship life, your patterns, your relationship wounding. This is a great time to redefine that story. Say you're someone who has always seen yourself as a loner or unsuccessful in love, or relationships only lead to hurt. You can, with this solar eclipse, rewrite that narrative. And a lot of folk may see that as manifesting, and there is this narrative, I guess, about manifesting during eclipse season, but we're always manifesting. The point of eclipse season is that it is important to surrender to the fated changes, the destined changes that we can't necessarily control. We can control our reactions, but surrender is also a part of manifestation. So that narrative is a little bit tricky. A lot of the time people say not to do anything, not to manifest, because fate has a role to play in this, but surrendering to fate is also part of the process. I do think with a lot of folk, this conjunction to Mercury is saying it is time to assert a new narrative, a new storyline, particularly because you may be finding yourself without one. Whether that be with the South Node going through Libra, you left a partnership, or whether you left behind a particular way of relating in relationships. You changed the way you are as a partner. You changed the way that you connect to others. You did some purging, you did some healing. You may now find yourself with, okay, well, what next? What do I do now? What's my new narrative? What's the new normal for me with this particular eclipse? There's a square to Mars in Cancer at the time of this eclipse, and quite interestingly, both this eclipse and the full moon this month are going to be in a square to Mars. And watch for the full moon 2 weeks from this eclipse, because it is going to be ruled by Mars and in a square to Mars. But squares to Mars can mean that there are angry outbursts. It can mean that people are perhaps feeling a little bit destructive or competitive or very in their ego. The thing about Mars, though, this month is that being in Cancer and also being in shadow from the 5th, so you'll feel that more around the time of the full moon. But Mars is not necessarily so comfortable in Cancer, it is said, because Cancer moves sideways. It's passive aggressive. It's not very direct, but it is emotional and it is sentimental. So with the square to Mars, you may be feeling a little bit more emotional, a little bit more protective, a little bit more defensive about a new partnership, about a relationship with a partner, with a family member. You may find for some that perhaps there are conflicts going on between your partner and a family member. Family and partnerships could perhaps clash a little bit more than normal this month, with that square to Mars being in Cancer, Cancer being the sign of the family. But I think for a lot of people, when it comes to relationship challenges, they feel somewhat territorial, they feel somewhat defensive, somewhat protective. But Mars is also in a grand trine with Venus and Saturn. And it's a grand water trine, of course. Venus is in Scorpio, Mars is in Cancer, Saturn is in Pisces. And I was actually talking on my Instagram about this, that when I was making my notes for this eclipse, I was thinking of that scene in The Simpsons in one of the Halloween specials where Homer has gone to this occult magic shop and he's getting Bart a Krusty doll, and he's excited because Bart loves Krusty the clown, and he goes up to the shop assistant, the shopkeeper, and he says he wants the Krusty doll, and the shopkeeper says, beware, this has a terrible curse, and Homer says, that's bad, and he said, but it comes with a free Frogurt. He's like, that's good, the Frogurt is also cursed, that's bad, but it comes with its choice of toppings, that's good. And whenever I was looking this eclipse, I was thinking, solar eclipse in Libra, the sun doesn't do well in Libra, that's bad, but it's ruled by Venus and Scorpio in a grand trine, that's good, but Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, that's bad, and Mars is in fall in Cancer, and that's bad, but it's a grand trine, that's good. It brings new beginnings, that's good. And my mind was going in between this, and it reminded me so much of that Halloween special. And then I realized whenever I was posting it that it's the indecisiveness of Libra and trying to weigh up all the different options. So with this particular solar eclipse, please do not write it off as good or bad. It is important to weigh both sides. But that grand trine, particularly with Mars being in play and Venus being the ruler of this eclipse and Saturn being there in a water sign, it's very important when it comes to relationships to connect to your emotions, to trust your emotions, to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to heal with others, to connect more deeply with other people. You know, Venus being in Scorpio, it gets a bad rap, but in all honesty, one thing that I have observed with people in my life who have Venus in Scorpio is that they're incredibly loyal. They are very jealous and they are very intense. And it can, you know, the darker side of this is where it can be obsessive or controlling, and that is not, you know, that is obviously not a good thing in relationships. And jealousy can be very painful for everyone involved. Scorpio energy is notoriously associated with jealousy. Venus in Scorpio can be in detriment because with this fear of vulnerability and this fear of being hurt, people that have it can sometimes try and hurt the other person before they hurt them, or they can shut themselves off, or they can try and control the other person so that they won't hurt them. And it can, that's the reason that Venus and Scorpio does not necessarily do so well. But even with a planet being in detriment in a sign, it has its positives and its minuses, because Venus in Scorpio, the higher vibration of it is that it can create beautiful intimacy and true connection and authenticity in relationships, and being in relationships that feel good on a soul level, because it's, you know, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So with this particular solar eclipse, I can see this going both ways. It can be a case where if you're in a relationship that is unhealthy, that is controlling, that is obsessive, that is toxic, this grand trine with Mars and Saturn can be the way that you get out of it. Or getting out of situations that feel harmful in relationships in general. But the grand trine can also be, as much as it can support people getting out of toxic relationships, it can actually support people in healthy relationships, going that bit deeper with partnerships. So in that sense, I feel like there is releasing and there is purging with the South Node still being in Libra, particularly letting go of, you know, old grudges, old anger at your family, anger at your upbringing, anger at people that you once considered family, that you once had a home with, that you really connected to emotionally. Letting go of grudges, letting go of purging past patterns in order to connect more deeply with somebody in the now. But it can also be a case where you find yourself getting out of a relationship that is toxic, that is unhealthy. So there's a lot of room with this eclipse to begin new relationships that are based on the work, the healing that you've done when it comes to relationship wounding. There's also a lot of opportunity to bond closer with people by being truly vulnerable, truly authentic with another. There is room to forgive, to purge, to release relationship wounding from the past so as to connect with new partners, new friends, new business acquaintances, whatever the case may be. Relationships are relationships. They don't always take a romantic form. And with the South Node going through Libra, it also has been important to take those, you know, to take romantic relationships off the pedestal, so to speak, that relating to others and connecting to others goes beyond just connecting to one partner. You can have connections in many forms. And I also think with this solar eclipse, there is opportunity to connect with people who are soulmates, with people who you feel a very deep, profound sense of familiarity with, connecting with people from the past, again, in new forms, potentially. But I also, to be honest, in an observational sense, I have seen more so that when the South Node comes up, it is less to do with connecting with people from the past in this lifetime. It can absolutely be, but it can be where you connect with someone where there's a sense of deja vu, familiarity, and just a sense of knowing that this person is to do with your destiny. And that can be a past life connection, a past life relationship. There can be nodal synastry. And I mentioned before in my September video with the South Node being in Libra, connecting to the Libra planets. With this particular eclipse, sometimes you can notice when you have a feeling of familiarity or instant familiarity, instant connection with someone, you can oftentimes notice that you have South Node synastry. So their South Node is on your Venus, or your South Node is on their Venus, or something like that. And you can note it in synastry. It's just worth mentioning because I know that people like looking at synastry and things like that. And if you do connect with people around this time that just feel instantly familiar, that can be why. As always, I need to mention the degree of this solar eclipse. It is at 10 degrees of Libra. If you have any personal placements from about 5 to 15 degrees of Libra, you're going to be feeling this. I feel that those who have 9, 10, 11 degrees of Libra may be noting significant shifts in their life, significant changes, very significant fated new beginnings. And it may also be the case that if you have anything at 5 or 6 degrees of Libra as well, where the South Node is, there is a reconnection to the past. There may also be something destined happening for you as well, as it does link to that lunar eclipse that we had back in March. But effectively, any placements at 9, 10, 11 degrees of the cardinal signs are going to be feeling this eclipse. So as always, I'm going to draw a tarot card for this eclipse and see what comes up. Let me know how you're feeling about this eclipse. If you're having any placements at 9, 10, 11 degrees of Libra, what's going on for you? And also I would actually quite like to know, how did you find the lunar eclipse in Pisces that came up in September? I'm a Pisces rising and it absolutely knocked me for 6. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Oh, atrocious. Anyway, let's have a little look at this solar eclipse and see what tarot card we get. 9 of Cups. That's pretty cute. Wish fulfillment, celebration. This could be a really cute manifestation at the time of this eclipse, and underneath we have the 4 of Wands. So for a lot of folk, this can be new connections, new relationships, the manifestation of a new connection, a new relationship, wish fulfillment in some sense. I think this grand water trine can be particularly positive, even as I say, Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, Mars has fallen in Cancer. I think wish fulfillment can absolutely be possible at the time of this solar eclipse. And I think also, knowing what you want is half the battle. Knowing what you want in a partner, knowing what you want in a relationship, knowing who you want to be in a relationship, how you want to feel in a relationship. And I think just generally knowing what it is that you want under this particular eclipse is going to be the most important part, and kind of tricky because it's Libra energy and it can be a little bit indecisive. But with the 4 of Wands underneath, I think it's about what would make you happy and emotionally satisfied around the time of this eclipse. That is what I have for the solar eclipse in Libra, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye. Hi Aries, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Aries, this solar eclipse is happening for you in your 7th house of relationships, one-on-one relationships, partnerships, collaborations. It also rules your clients and legal matters and legal affairs. But basically this tends to represent a one-on-one relationship of some kind. So this may be that at this time there is a new beginning happening within an existing relationship. Say for example, you're in a long-term partnership. This may be a time when you decide to get married, get engaged, start a family together, perhaps get a mortgage together, buy a home together. You have Venus in the 8th house of shared financial resources, Mars in your sector of home. So it may be that you're getting a property together or beginning something new within a relationship that is perhaps, taking the relationship to another level or beginning a new chapter. For some of you, it could be that you're leaving a relationship because perhaps you realize that it is no longer healthy for you or a good fit for you both, whether that be financially, whether that be emotionally compatible, or whether that be that you just simply feel now is the time to release a partnership in your life. For others of you, this may be a time when a new relationship is beginning. So whether that is that you meet somebody new who's a new best friend or a new romantic partner or a new business partner, Aries, it may be this eclipse is ushering in somebody new. It is a South Node eclipse, so a lot of what is happening with these relationships is karmic, and I don't want you to think that karmic means bad. It does tend to get a bit of a a negative rap, but karma is neither good or bad. It is pretty neutral. And it may be a case that under this time you're meeting somebody who has a lot to teach you, or someone who can really help you let down the walls around your heart, or someone who can help you dissolve barriers to your heart or to connecting more deeply with somebody. The South Node in the 7th house tends to be a time where we do let down the walls to our heart in order to allow someone else in. Or it can be a time where we're wrapping up relationships that have, gone as far as they can go in this lifetime, or for now at least. So for a lot of you, this does seem to be a one-on-one relationship. If it's a business relationship, it does seem that whether this is a new person or whether this is within an existing business relationship, finances may very well be involved. And that is because of Venus being in the 8th house. It may be that you have you're getting some sort of resource from a new person in your life. You're getting some sort of financial benefit, or you're inheriting something from somebody in your life that is a relationship for you, Aries. Your ruler Mars being in the 4th house at this time and in a trine to Venus makes me feel a little bit like you are wanting to open up to other people more emotionally, or you are wanting to connect with others either intimately, emotionally, or perhaps financially, even with Venus being in Scorpio. Now, your tarot card was the 10 of Wands, which is where you may be feeling a little bit overloaded with the amount of work that you have to do, the amount of work that you're putting in. You may feel that there is a lot of heavy burdens for you, perhaps behind the scenes. I do feel with Saturn going through your 12th house at the moment, Aries rising, a lot of you are putting in a lot of work that nobody sees. The stuff behind the scenes that you don't necessarily get a pat on the back for. And some of you may need to actually take a bit of a rest, take a bit of a breather. With your ruler in your 4th house, and your ruler is going to be in shadow from the 5th, it's okay to take it a little bit easier. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to spend a little bit more time at home with your family, or just relaxing. You don't always have to be all systems go all the time, Aries. This eclipse is happening opposite you, which means you may be feeling a little bit restless. You may be feeling a little bit opposed by something that's going on in your life. Like you're having to balance a lot. You're having to juggle a lot, because even in this tarot card, she's actually balancing a jug on her head, which seems to be, that's not the traditional 10 of Wands, but that does seem to be a sign of needing to balance something that you're carrying, Aries. But that is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Taurus, this eclipse is happening in your 6th house. This is a lot to do with your health and your well-being. It is ruled by your ruler in your 7th house of relationships. I do feel for a lot of you that you're perhaps starting a new job at this time, or you're taking on a new role at this time. It could be that you're starting a new job. It could be that you're taking on a new role or providing a new service in your work. For a lot of you, if you are, this may actually be something that leads you to a significant one-on-one relationship, whether that is a partner romantically, or a business partner, or a best friend. I do feel that if you're starting a new job, a new role, you're taking on a new responsibility in your life, Taurus, for a lot of you, if you're single, it may lead to love, but if you're attached, it may lead to perhaps a business collaboration, or it may lead to a best friend, a very close one-on-one relationship. And this relationship is based on fundamental compatibilities, because Venus is in your 7th house and it's going to be in this grand trine with Mars in your 11th. So you have shared goals for the future, and also, Saturn in your 11th, so you've shared goals for the future, but also Mars in your 3rd, which means there's very active communication with this person. So for a lot of you, this could be a new person coming in through this new job as well. It may also be that if it's nothing to do with that, it could be that perhaps you are beginning a new chapter in your physical health, your well-being. Maybe you're joining a gym and you're getting a personal trainer. Maybe you're getting a nutritionist. Maybe you are going to be collaborating with someone one-on-one on a project for your health. Whether that's that you're beginning marathon training and you're training with somebody else. It feels like for a lot of you, you could be connecting with somebody through this new job or this new health endeavor. And if it's not that you're partnering up with someone in that sense, you could be perhaps getting a new client that is very helpful for you in terms of, spreading the word about your business, or it could be that you're maybe working with somebody in a health sense who has a lot of information that you need. It can really help you move forward with whatever is happening for you health-wise. I do think for a lot of you, you could be beginning a new fitness endeavor, and I think if you are, you could be working with somebody, or health endeavor, you could be working with someone who is kind of good at getting, if you're looking to investigate something, they're very good at getting to the heart of the matter of why things are not working or what is going wrong, with Venus being in your 7th house of Scorpio. So I do think for a lot of you, you could be, as I say, beginning a new job or beginning a new role in your life, Taurus. And it could be that perhaps you're focusing very much on your health. So you're wanting to take active steps forward when it comes to health and when it comes to well-being. It may also be a case with the South Node being, a big part of the story, and the South Node has been in your 6th house since July 2023. It could be that perhaps you have been letting go of a lot of unhealthy habits, health-wise or work-wise. You could have left jobs behind. Some of you could have struggled with unemployment, with it being the South Node at periods. And this could be the time when you return to the world of work, or you return to a job, or you begin a new job. Or if you have been letting go of unhealthy habits when it comes to your health, this can be the time when you really set in place a routine that you feel works for you. And I feel like it works for you because you're connecting with somebody else. Like you have another person there who's really helping you out when it comes to health, fitness, or well-being matters. And interestingly, I think for a lot of you, it could actually be strength training, Taurus, because the tarot card for you is the strength card. And this is a lot to do with, physical strength, emotional strength, soulful strength, where you're having more confidence, you're having more self-belief in what it is that you're doing. And in the strength card, there's two. There's the woman, there's the lion. So I feel like you're probably going to be working with somebody on improving yourself and on improving your life, Taurus. That's what it seems to be for you at this time. So that is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Gemini, this solar eclipse is going to be happening for you in the 5th house. So the South Node has been in the 5th house since July 2023, effectively, and this is the final solar eclipse in Libra. And this is a new beginning, but it also is the wrapping up of a particular chapter in your life. So the South Node has been going through there since July 2023, and this may have been, if you have children, there may have been a lot of changes happening when it comes to your children, regardless of what age they are, whether they be, adult or young. It could have been that some of you became parents. It could have been for some of you that there was a purging energy with your children. Maybe they were going through a lot in their life. Maybe they were going through some tough experiences, or maybe you had some tough karmic experiences when it came to pregnancy, birth, or the children in your life. This new moon can be a new start when it comes to that. So perhaps there is a new chapter in the life of your child, a new beginning when it comes to your child, or it could be a pregnancy or a birth for a lot of you, with this new moon solar eclipse being in the 5th house. It could be pregnancy, it could be birth, or it could be that perhaps there's a new chapter happening in the life of your child. Venus at this time is the ruler of this eclipse, of course, because Venus rules Libra, and Venus is going through your 6th house. So it may be that when it comes to your child in your life, there's a new chapter health-wise, and I feel like it is, even though Venus is in detriment, I feel like it is positive. Venus is in a ground trine with Saturn and Mars. For you, Gemini, so it may be a case that at this time you are, noticing improvements in the health of a child, or you feel like they're making positive changes, or you feel as though they're making changes in general. They have a new beginning where they're maybe feeling a little bit more emotionally supported, perhaps. It could be an energy that's coming on for them, Gemini. This can be absolutely nothing to do with kids at all. So I'll get into that as well. For some of you, this can be a new romance in your life, with this being a new moon and a solar eclipse. It could be a new romantic affair beginning, a new romantic relationship, and it could be someone that you meet through work or through the gym or through being in a doctor's office or something like that. It could be a new beginning with someone that you're dating or someone that you're romantically involved with. And if it's not that either, Gemini, it could be doing something new for fun. It could be that you have a new creative hobby, you're doing something that you really enjoy, and this could be something that is actually good for your health. So maybe you get really into, I guess, fencing or water polo or some sort of sport or activity that you feel like you're noticing health benefits from because you really enjoy it. So you could be taking up some sort of something artistic but athletic at the same time, or something that you notice has a positive improvement on your body or on your physical well-being, or even your mental and psychological well-being. Maybe you get really into martial arts and you notice that your trousers are fitting a little bit looser after a couple of months, or you notice that you're thinking clearer, or you're just doing something for fun that in turn benefits your health, Gemini, with this being in the 5th house and it being ruled by Venus in a grand trine. Now, Venus is in detriment, of course, but the higher vibration of this is that you can be positively obsessed with what it is that you're doing for fun, or it can be that you're negatively obsessed with it. You know, you can be really obsessed in a good way where you're enjoying it and you want to learn everything about it, or you can be negatively obsessed in doing it compulsively, or you can't step away from it kind of thing. So be mindful of that, because the 5th house does rule gambling and, doing things that can actually be a bit risky. So just be mindful of that with whatever it is that you're doing. Scorpio is a very obsessive energy. I will also say for some of you, you could be doing something quite sneaky. I don't know what you're up to, but we got the 7 of Swords as your tarot card. So some of you may be doing something on the sly. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. You might have your reasons for keeping this secret, Gemini. So with the 7 of Swords, it's basically about where you're, acting behind the scenes for your own best interests. And as I say, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're doing something that is sneaky or a betrayal or anything like that, but it could be that you're doing something and you kind of have to keep it secret, or you're starting something and you kind of have to keep it secret. As I say, the ruler of this eclipse, Venus, is in Scorpio. Scorpio is a secretive sign. So maybe you have a new creative project you're working on and you really want to hide it and keep it behind the scenes. Or you may also just want to be aware that perhaps if there is a new beginning happening in your life, it would be a good time to address issues surrounding transparency or secretiveness with the 7 of Swords. Or it may be a time where if you feel perhaps, Gemini, that someone is doing something behind your back, maybe pay attention if there's a little red flag waving about something, just because that card can be somebody else. But truthfully, for me, when I'm thinking about this with Venus ruling this eclipse, I feel like you are perhaps, beginning something that maybe you want to keep kind of private, or something that you want to keep behind the scenes for whatever reason, Gemini. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Cancer rising, welcome to the solar eclipse in Gemini for your sign. So Cancer, this eclipse is going to be happening in your 4th house, and anytime we have an eclipse that's happening in the 4th house, this can bring about new beginnings when it comes to our home and when it comes to our family. So for a lot of you, there could be a new beginning happening within the house, within the home itself, whether that be that you are perhaps, getting somebody to do some work for your house. This solar eclipse is in a conjunction with Mercury, so you could be making an agreement with someone when it comes to the home, maybe buying a home, purchasing a home, signing on the dotted line when it comes to agreements. It could be that you're buying a home. It could be that news comes in surrounding a property matter, a new beginning, a new chapter when it comes to your home and your family. And the ruler of this eclipse for you, Cancer, is going to be Venus in Scorpio in your 5th house. So for a lot of you, there could be a new beginning happening in your home because of children. There could be a new start when it comes to children. There could be a new start when it comes to, maybe you're expanding your family, you're deciding you want to start having children, or you're wanting to, for some of you, something small like renovate your child's room or decorate your child's bedroom or something like that. Change or renovate the room of a child in your house, because Venus, as I say, is in the 5th, which is to do with children. But it could also be that you're making a games room or a room for an activity in your house, or you're making more space for the things that you enjoy to do, the things that you find entertaining, the things that bring you pleasure, that bring you joy. So you could be making a room for the gym if you really love working out, or you could be putting in a dance studio, depending on your situation. It can be so many different things. But I feel like the new beginnings in your home and family are sort of rooted through the motivation of children that you have in your family, or perhaps fun and entertainment. Maybe some of you are making a room for your drum kit and your guitars and things like that, or you're doing up your garage to be a place for you to rehearse music or something like that. It feels as though there's maybe a new beginning happening in your home that is rooted in creativity, happiness, or for your children. So as I say, some of you could be buying a home, purchasing a home, signing a rental agreement, moving, renovating, or there could be a new dynamic within your family when it comes to your relationship with your children. It could be, as I say, an eclipse can affect everybody differently because it can range in its level of intensity. So for some of you, this could be adding a few new finishing touches to the home. It could be perhaps adding some new decor or some new furnishings. For some of you, it could be a renovation. For some of you, it could be bringing in a contractor. And for some of you, it could be something as big as getting a new family member. Maybe your adult child, because the 5th house is children, but that can be your adult children too. One of your kids is getting married. Maybe it could be that one of your children is finally leaving the nest and you have a room that you want to do up or change. It could be that, it could manifest in many different ways for you, Cancer. But effectively, it's to do with the home, it's to do with property, it's to do with family. And it's cute because the ruler of this eclipse, Venus, being in a grand trine with Saturn in your 9th and Mars in your 1st, I feel like you're sort of seeing the bigger picture of these changes. You can sort of see the wood for the trees at this particular point, and you feel like you're taking positive action forward with whatever this is. I think a lot of you are getting physically involved in what this is, so you're present if there are changes within the home, or maybe if your child has good news, you're giving them a big hug. Mars is sort of in your sign. You're feeling that this like physical energy where you're giving someone a hug, or you're knocking something down with a hammer, like a wall, or you're putting something up with a hammer, like a painting, whatever the case may be. It feels like you're physically involved. I do want to say, Cancer, just a word of warning, please don't physically exert yourself to the point of injury. With Mars in your sign, Mars actually enters shadow on the 5th. So you may be noticing that you're starting to wind down, your energy's a bit lower, you're a little bit more slower in your movements and a little bit more accident prone. So just be mindful if you're getting into any heavy renovations or lifting at the time of this eclipse. It is in a square to your ruler, not your ruler, it is in a square to Mars in your 1st house, as I say, so please be mindful of actually hurting yourself. The 3 of Wands is your tarot card, so I think for a lot of you, you're manifesting big things. This is, leveling up when it comes to your home, when it comes to your family, when it comes to the big goals that you have when it comes to home matters, family matters, or members, like where you live, the type of place you live in, what it looks like, who's living in it. You're manifesting big things at this time, I feel, Cancer. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Leo, this solar eclipse is happening in your 3rd house. So this is quite a broad house, so bear with me as I give you the different possibilities. But it feels like for a lot of you, with the conjunction to Mercury, Leo, I feel some of you may be starting a writing project, or you might be signing on the dotted line, or you might be, writing, drafting, editing, reading a lot around the time of this solar eclipse. And there could actually be contracts involved as well with the conjunction to Mercury. And it could be a case that perhaps this is putting a lot of your mental energy onto paper or out there. You may be communicating. Some of you may be starting a podcast, a social media channel. Some of you may be writing a book. Some of you may be working on your mindset, on your, as I spoke about in the introduction to this particular eclipse, working on your mindset and working on the narratives, the programming that you have in your mind, your dominant thoughts. Pam Gregory always says if you watch her video, she'll put notes up around the house saying, what are you thinking right now? So that she's always checking in with her thoughts, because they can run, without us being so aware of them at times, and they can be telling a story, and there's this constant manifesting, which is why the 3rd house, which is to do with our thinking, is actually the house of witchcraft. So effectively manifestation. So you might be deciding you're going to sort of work on choosing better thoughts or different thoughts, or asserting a new narrative in your life Leo. And interestingly enough, this could be to do with home, family, or property, because Venus, the ruler of this eclipse, is actually in the 4th. I also feel for a lot of you, you could have something to say at the time of this eclipse, something to declare, something to discuss about the future. The conjunction to Mercury. Mercury rules your 11th house. It could be a case that you have something to declare when it comes to the future, maybe about your home, about your family. It could be that you have something to announce there, something that you've to discuss. You could actually be signing, you know, a property matter or a lease or some sort of agreement when it comes to a home or a property. Because as I say, Venus is in the 4th house, and Venus is in this grand trine with Mars in your 12th and Saturn in your 8th. So very emotional houses. This could be a very emotional discussion you have to have, or communication you have to have, some very significant news. It could also be that there's something happening with a sibling. A sibling is announcing something or telling you something that starts a new chapter, maybe that affects your family. There's a new beginning with a sibling. As I say, Venus being in the 4th, it does seem to affect your family, impact your family with a sibling. There's a square to Mars in your 12th. So I think, you know, despite the great grand trine energy of this, something about this fundamentally feels a little bit... There's something about this, Leo, that maybe feels a little bit disappointing with Mars being in the 12th in Cancer, something that is a little bit... It's sort of annoying. I don't necessarily know that it's hugely annoying, but it feels like there could be something that's a little bit frustrating or a little bit passive aggressive, or something that's a little bit of a letdown or a disappointment at the time of whatever this is, whether that be, you know, somebody's reaction to what you're saying or just how you feel about this new thing. There's a little bit of a party pooper in the room with Mars being in Cancer and squaring this particular eclipse. So it feels like if you have an announcement, maybe someone's reaction is just a bit meh. Or it could be that if there's a new beginning happening with a sibling, it's something that you didn't quite expect and you feel a bit miffed that they didn't tell you, or they didn't tell you sooner. Or it could be that, you know, many things, but Mars being in the 12th is that you feel a little bit worried about it, or you feel a little bit down about it, I think, at times. Not overall, not in the general sense of things, because there is that grand trine with Mars, but it seems like if you do have an announcement to make or something that you're working on, it can be a little bit emotionally heavy at moment. I think it's more worry the way that it is transpiring for you, Leo, but overall I do feel like there's a new beginning, and I feel like it's, you know, involving your mind, pen to paper, an announcement, something to discuss, something to declare. Your tarot card was the King of Swords. So for a lot of you, there could be legal matters going on at this time. Mars does rule your 9th house. And this is a solar eclipse. The sun is your ruler. And Saturn, your 7th house ruler, which is legal affairs, is in... in the grand trine. There's a lot going on, as you can tell, but it feels as though there could be legal matters happening for some of you at this time. I feel like that's more in the realm of contracts or something that you're signing, you know, agreements and things like that. It could also be that you have involvements with a lawyer, because the King of Swords can be a lawyer, or it can be that you have, you know, you have to tell the truth on something, you have very practical matters, you have something that you're doing by the book. You could be writing a book, you could be using a lot of your logic at this time, Leo, despite that grand water trine. I think at the end of the day, with a new moon solar eclipse in the 3rd, you're having to issue some logic into the situation, but I think it focuses mainly on communication for you. That's what I have for you, Leo. Oh, and you could be buying a new car or a new phone. That is what I have for you, Leo, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Virgo, this solar eclipse is happening in your 2nd house of money. So since July 2023, there's been a lot of focus on your finances, and the North Node going through your 8th house was pushing you more in the direction of loans, government grants, joint financial relationships, mortgages, inheritance, you know, receiving money from other people, whether that be a spouse, a government, a business partnership, or whatever the case may be. And the South Node going through the 2nd has been a lot to do with cleaning up your own finances and financial habits. So at this time, there's a big focus on your financial affairs, and there's an opportunity for a reset here. So you might have let go of some tricky financial habits over the last couple of years, you know, really observed your spending, observed your financial habits, your financial hygiene, your relationship to money, your relationship to your income, and a lot of focus on financial affairs in general. This can also be to do with self-confidence, self-worth, seeing your own value. And there's a new start here, and it's conjunct your ruling planet, Mercury, in the same house. So I think for a lot of you, you're making a decision, you're making a choice about your money. So for some of you, this could be a new source of income, a new source of pay. For others of you, this could be a new financial habit. This could be that you're maybe opening a new bank account. You're maybe starting a savings account. You're maybe practicing better financial hygiene. You're maybe getting a financial advisor or something like that, Virgo. But I do feel with this particular new moon, it is a restart when it comes to your finances. The effects of a new moon, they are not necessarily felt the day of the eclipse. So this could be something that you are, working on going forward that bears financial fruits later. It could be that you're starting something at this time that will bear you more financial fruit later on. I do feel with the square to Mars, and Mars being in your 11th house, is that you may be trying to focus more on your finances, and this may be, it could perhaps scupper some future plans that you were doing, something that you were planning for the future, something that you were hoping to do in the future, something that you were hoping to receive maybe financially from somebody else in the future. You could be a little bit more focused on your own money instead, or a little bit more focused on financial independence. Or it could be that you're a little bit more focused on, I guess, being more aware of the facts when it comes to money, when it comes to budgets, when it comes to possessions and things. You could also be making a pretty big purchase at this time that is important to you and your own personal well-being. You may also be focusing more on investing some money in yourself, in your well-being, in your appearance, in your sense of identity. You could be investing some money there as well, Virgo. But I do think for a lot of you, this is a new financial chapter in your life. Now, this new moon is ruled by Venus in Scorpio in your 3rd house. So this may be something, there's a lot of mental energy surrounding this for you because Mercury is your ruling planet. It's conjunct the solar eclipse, and it's ruled by Venus in your 3rd house, which is the Mercury house. So it could be that there's when it comes to these new financial beginnings, it could be that perhaps the things that you're spending money on could be a car. It could be some sort of communication gadget, a laptop, a phone, and this could be to support a personal goal of yours. It could be social media, it could be media in general. You could find yourself discussing something in the newspapers, in the media. It could be that you're getting something technical like a gadget or a car. It could be that you're writing something, and this is really giving you a strong sense of confidence, Virgo. It could also be that there's a new financial beginning, maybe linked to a sibling or to a neighbor. So maybe a neighbor is telling you of a job that is going to pay you a certain amount of money and you're going to take it, or they recommended you for it, or a sibling is maybe recruiting you to do some work for them, build a website or something like that. It could be that that is the case for a lot of you, Virgo. With the grand trine being, Venus in the 3rd, Saturn in the 7th, Mars in the 11th. This is actually a really social time for you. So I would suggest if there are social events to get out there. You may form a new long-term relationship, whether that be a friend, a business partner, or romantic partner. And you may find that you have a lot of social events that you can attend at this time, Virgo. With your tarot card being the 5 of Wands in reverse, I feel for a lot of you that you are looking to cooperate with people, to communicate a little bit better with people, to resolve situations with people, find common ground. It is a Libra eclipse, so it's all about negotiation and finding harmony with other people. And I think for a lot of you, this could be to do with your finances, with your values, or what gives you self-confidence. So maybe you're finding if you're feeling a little bit more confident or you're practicing more self-confidence, you're not as offended by somebody else. Or it could be that you're finding harmony in a financial situation or surrounding, maybe arguments or tension or worries about money. That's what I have for you, Virgo, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Libra, welcome to the solar eclipse in, drumroll please, your sign. So Libra, this solar eclipse is happening in your 1st house of self. So this is all about you. Now, Libra, over the last year and a bit, because the South Node entered your sign in July 2023, the North Node entered your 7th house of relationships at the same time, of course, because they're joined. But this has been a bit of a journey for you in terms of letting go of certain parts of yourself, of certain ways of living, certain ways of behaving, certain ways of doing, certain ways of relating with other people as well. And it could be a case for a lot of you Libras that you're ready for a new beginning personally. You're ready for a new identity. You're ready for a new image. This could be that you're actually changing your image. You're getting your hair cut. You're dyeing it a different color. You're beginning a whole new chapter in terms of your style aesthetic, in terms of the makeup you wear, the way you do your hair, the clothes you choose, the jewelry, the perfume, the aftershave, the shoes, whatever the case may be. Your style may be changing. Some of you may also be doing something cosmetic at this time. It's worth mentioning that with Venus being in Scorpio in detriment, that if you are making aesthetic changes, make sure that you have the finances to do them because Venus is in your 2nd house, or that you're doing them already from a place of confidence and feeling self-confident with yourself. Just because Venus in detriment can sometimes be that you're doing it from a place of, you're not doing it from the right motivation. So just make sure that if you are making changes at this time, you're doing them because that's what you really want. That's what you really would love for yourself, rather than doing it for somebody else or doing it because it's in trend, if you know what I mean. Something like that. And also that you have the financial means to do it. The solar eclipse in the 1st house can be something as simple as getting a haircut. It can be, because that's what the moon does during an eclipse to your hair. Eclipse it, yay. It could be that you're just having a minor haircut or changing your hair color or something like that. It could also be, Libra, that it's absolutely nothing to do with your physical image. It could be your approach to life. You're looking for a new way of living. And I think for a lot of you, you're looking for something a little bit more mentally stimulating with Mercury being there. Or you're looking to perhaps communicate about something at this time, Libra, when it comes to your new persona. I feel like for a lot of you, it's a new persona, it's a new identity, it's a new beginning for you personally. It can just be the way that you approach life. It can be your mindset is changing, yourself, the way that you label yourself is maybe changing, the way you talk about yourself or think about yourself is changing as well, Libra. For some of you, you could have been, really focused on building relationships over the last couple of years. Some of you could have gotten into new partnerships, gotten engaged, gotten divorced, gotten married, many different changes in you relationship-wise with the North Node in the 7th. And now this solar eclipse is saying, okay, well, what do I need from me in this particular moment? As I said, the ruler of this eclipse, Venus, is in your 2nd house. It's very focused on your finances, but also your self-confidence and your priorities. So I feel like for a lot of you, you're really focusing on what's important for you. But I do think there could be a new way of identifying yourself, how you would describe yourself, how you would, if you were on a missing persons poster, what would your descriptors be? I feel like there's a new beginning in terms of what you would be described as. For some, that could be, you're becoming a mother. So it could be that you're a mother now, or you're a father now, or it could be that you are an entrepreneur now, or it could be that you're a Mrs. now. Whatever the case may be, it feels for you, Libra, like you are changing in some way, shape or form. And that could be a new start for you at the time of this eclipse. Venus in the 2nd house, it's something that's true to your values, and it's also something that I think you might be investing some money in. I also feel with Venus being in a grand trine with Saturn in the 6th and Mars in your 10th, there's a chance to reconsider how you're making money, the work that you do, your professional status for you, Libra. With Mars being in your 10th house and Mars going into shadow in the 5th, there could be a little bit of a back and forth when it comes to your work situation. And I feel a little bit like if there's a new beginning for you personally, Libra, for whatever reason, there may be a bit of tension when it comes to your work or your workplace or your boss, with Mars being in a square to this solar eclipse in your sign. So for some of you, you might actually be thinking of, okay, I'm changing and I want a different working situation going forward, or there's been some tension and frustration in my work life. You know, you Saturn in the 6th, and Saturn, yes, it's in a grand trine, but with Mars and Saturn, the malefics in your professional houses, I feel like for a lot of you, if there's a new beginning happening for you, it could be a little bit disruptive to your work, or it could be due to changes in your work, or it could bring about, you know, the changes you're going through could bring about changes when it comes to your work, Libra. Your tarot card was actually Death. So this is about transformation, renewal, endings and beginnings. I think for a lot of you, you're letting go of some sort of way of living or some sort of way of changing yourself. I think you're wanting a bit of an overhaul when it comes to your life, Libra. So you may actually be making quite a bit of changes in your life, or something could actually be ending at this time that is bringing about a new you or a new way of living. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, welcome to the solar eclipse in your 12th house horoscope. So Scorpio, this eclipse, it's happening in a very, very private sector of your chart. So it's something that is beginning behind the scenes, privately, in isolation. Some of you may be a little bit more reclusive, a little bit more of a hermit at this time. You might be spending more time alone. And perhaps in this space, you are beginning something privately or in isolation or alone. And I feel like whatever it is that you are doing alone or you're beginning alone, a lot of it is rooted in self-love, because the ruler of this eclipse is Venus, and Venus is in your 1st house of the self. So some of you may be, just as an example, some of you may be changing your appearance in some way privately. So some of you could be, for example, privately getting some work done. Maybe that you're not even telling your partner about, you know, whether that be that you're getting some cosmetic procedure, or you're maybe working on a health matter behind the scenes you're not telling anybody about, or you're maybe doing something spiritual for yourself behind the scenes that is maybe in some way changing your energy or your appearance, where you're looking a little bit different. I feel because Venus is in your 1st house, this all looks better for you. When Venus goes through the 1st, it tends to be very positive in terms of our aesthetics. Obviously, Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, so it's important to know what motivates you with changes that you're making and know what place they're coming from, and if they're coming from a place of self-love and self-acceptance. But I do feel for a lot of you, you're doing something privately for yourself behind the scenes, because Venus being in your 1st, it seems as though whatever it is that you're doing, it changes your appearance, it changes your character, it changes how you show up to the world, how you approach life. And it may also be that, you know, you've been spending a lot of time alone and you're sort of feeling, you know, reflective and contemplative about what it is that you want, how you want to exist in the world effectively. I want to say as well, there could be an ending in your life, and it could be something that you are choosing. You could be choosing to end a relationship, you could be choosing to end some sort of situation in your life that no longer feels fulfilling. You could also be wrapping up a karmic chapter when it comes to your relationship to yourself, Scorpio, and how you see yourself. It could be a time as well where you have perhaps realized a hidden enemy in the camp, and it could be that you are perhaps stepping away from that relationship. I do find that in the majority of cases in the 12th house, the hidden enemy tends to be within us, something that we're carrying. Obviously, there can be betrayals as well that come out into the spotlight with eclipses in the 12th, but it can be that perhaps, you know, the hidden enemies come from something you're repressing within yourself. I feel like for a lot of you, you could have been repressing a part of yourself that you are deciding under this eclipse you maybe no longer want to repress. You know, Venus being in your 1st house of identity and self, you're thinking, well, actually, I don't feel like I can truly be myself in this environment, so I'm going to leave it. Or it can be that perhaps, you know, you're realizing that you've been hiding yourself away from situations because you are so afraid of being rejected in these spaces that you rejected yourself first. If that makes sense, because we're looking at this interesting interplay between the 12th house of self-undoing and the 1st house of self with Venus there, self-love and self-acceptance, and how you're sort of going between the two and balancing them out here with the Libra eclipse. So it could be an ending for you. It could be that you're perhaps beginning a new chapter afresh, or you're letting go of some self-undoing habits or some self-sabotaging habits, I guess, Scorpio. You know, Mercury rules your 8th house of psychology, so you could be having some really interesting insights into why you do certain things or certain patterns that are playing out in your life. But Mercury also rules your sector of friendship, so you could be realizing that perhaps you're leaving behind a certain friend at this time, Scorpio. Now, there is a square to Mars in your 9th house, so this could be sort of, you know, you could be experiencing a bit of frustration, a bit of anger at the way you view the world, or it could be religious anger, or perhaps you're working through some religious trauma for some of you. It could also be that perhaps you're just feeling really annoyed or angry at the, 9th house, the state of the world. But it's worth noting as well that Mars is actually in a grand trine with Venus in your 1st house and Saturn in your 5th. So for a lot of you, you could be perhaps making some sort of healing connection with maybe your children, or with a creative hobby of yours where you feel like you're committing to something that you really love, you really enjoy, and it's sort of, at this time maybe helping you with your frustrations at the world or your anger. You could be having some challenges in terms of your belief systems. Sometimes with Mars being in the 9th house and, the fact that it's going to go retrograde, a bit of a crisis of faith sometimes, a bit of anger at the world, at the universe at times. But this grand trine feels a little bit like you're able to find some support, you're able to find some connection with people you love, things that you love, art, music, as ways of healing. I will say for some Scorpio risings, an eclipse in the 12th house is really quite tough, because you can find yourself working through past betrayals, past deceits, past pain. And as I say, with Mercury ruling the 8th, I feel like for a lot of you, it would be a good time to talk to some sort of someone in a supportive healing role, whether that be a therapist, a counselor, whatever way you're working through your stuff at the moment, Scorpio. It would be good for you to have someone that you can talk through your past or your trauma or your baggage. You can talk through those things with somebody to support your healing journey, Scorpio. I'm just saying this because, as they say, 12th house can be quite tricky, and it can be kind of tough, and it can be kind of triggering with eclipses, because eclipses tend to, I don't know if you remember that Pisces lunar eclipse, but eclipses can tend to, it was only a couple of weeks ago, eclipses can dredge up some stuff that we've buried for a long time in general, but when they're in the 12th, it really can feel like it's, your dreams can be very peculiar, your sleep patterns can change, you can feel very mentally uneasy, Scorpio. So I just wanted to mention this for you. If you are musical, Saturn there in this grand trine in your 5th house, if you're a musical, make the most of it. I get this sense for a lot of Scorpio risings, music and love and creativity and things like that are very healing for you right now. Your tarot card was the Page of Cups, which can pertain to a new romance in your life, a romantic connection. Could be good news romantically for a lot of you with that grand trine involving your 5th house and Venus being in your sign. You can be attracting a lot of romantic offers. You might have to leave the house for that with this being in your 12th house. You could be beginning new romantic relationships, romantic connections, getting messages about romance. There can also be communication coming up with your children. They maybe have something to tell you that is good news. There could be a birth or a pregnancy. And it can also be that if you're creative, as I say, you're really finding a lot of healing and solace in music and creativity in sharing your art. In feeling very creative, Scorpio, it's a very creative time for you with that grand trine. So that is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your zodiac sign. So Sagittarius, since July of last year, we've had the South Node going through your 11th house, and this is a South Node solar eclipse. So The South Node tends to represent karma, and it can be a time of letting go, of releasing, but it can also be a time of positive karmic collection. So since July of last year, you may have noticed some fated shifts and changes when it comes to your friendships, when it comes to your memberships, when it comes to the groups that you're a part of, your social communities, your social media. And you might have found that you've let go of certain friendships, or you've left certain teams, you've left certain groups. But it can also be that you've connected with people who are very like-minded, kindred spirits, people you feel like you've known all your life. With the South Node, it can oftentimes connect us with past life friendships. I'll give an example. I met one of my dear friends when the South Node was going through my 11th house, and in synastry, her ascendant is actually exactly conjunct my North Node. So you do tend to find friendships that are kind of karmic. You've past life energy, or you've destined synastry because you're there to help each other in this lifetime. So it could be that you've connected with support systems who feel like home. And if you haven't, this might be the new moon solar eclipse where you do. This can be a time where you're making new friends, you're joining groups, you're joining teams, you're getting new memberships of people that feel quite like-minded, people that are maybe interested in certain things that you're interested in. It could center around Libra themes, justice, the law, equality, things like that. Or it can be to do with Libra activities, fashion, makeup, Venusian things. But I digress. It doesn't have to be about any of those things, but it does tend to indicate new friendships, new groups, new communities. It could be for a lot of you that you're joining an online space, you're starting an online platform, because it feels like the conjunction to Mercury is saying there's a lot to talk about here, there's a lot to communicate, there's a lot to discuss with Mercury, with people. So it feels as though maybe you are joining a new team or a new membership, or you're networking at this time. Mercury for you, Sagittarius, does rule your 7th house of relationships, clients, partnerships, but also your 10th house of career and your professional life. So you could be connecting with people who are well connected, or you could be meeting some quite influential people, or people that can help you professionally or with your clientele, or even introducing you to maybe future partnerships. Jupiter is in your 7th house, so if you're looking for relationships, this is a really good time to connect with them. But the ruler of this eclipse is Venus, and Venus is in Scorpio in your 12th house, and Venus is in detriment. So bear in mind that if you are joining new spaces, if you're connecting with new people, they can be the type of people that come with secrets. They can be the type of people that don't necessarily, they're not very open. You're a very open sign, a sign that's very focused on truth and things like that. So just be mindful that if you're connecting with certain people, they might be a bit secretive. They don't have to be malicious, they don't have to be anything like that, but they can just be quite secretive, or they can be holding some information back for whatever reason. They can be kind of guarded. But I do feel with Venus being in the 12th house that if you are connecting with people, there is a bit of an element of secrecy surrounding these people. And it could just simply be that they are Scorpios. Or it could be that if you're joining groups and spaces, maybe what you connect on is the taboo, the conspiracy theories, the mysteries, the unknown, what's hidden, what's behind the scenes that we don't see. And, you're kind of connecting over more taboo or even occult subjects. Sagittarius, it could be that as well. Or it could be that if you're starting an online platform, or there's a big influx of social media followers, it could be that's because you're discussing things like conspiracy or true crime, or anything like that, anything that is considered occult or taboo, occult being, astrology or tarot or something like that, or the mysteries of life, or, the dark stuff. Or what is perceived as dark. It could be something that you're discussing on your online spaces or on your social media. Sagittarius, it is maybe getting you a bit of attention. Now, there is a square to Mars in Cancer, and Mars is in your 8th house. So for you, as I say, there is again a little bit more about the taboo, a little bit more about the dark, and things like that with Mars being in your 8th house. Your motivations are not necessarily as clear as you think either, with, Mars being in the 8th house. But it could be that perhaps at this time, with Venus in the 12th, Mars in the 8th, and Saturn in the 4th. Some of you could be behind the scenes at the time of this eclipse, maybe working on something when it comes to a mortgage, when it comes to a financial agreement that you're keeping secret for now. I do think for a lot of you it could be to do with a property, or it could be that there's a bit of, there's maybe some stuff going on behind the scenes when it comes to a property, and maybe you're putting this out to your friends or out online. And with Saturn being in the 4th house, a lot of you are committing to working on a home, finding a home. You're very committed to family at this time, or family members, and there could be a financial component to this with Mars being in the 8th. But primarily this eclipse for you, Sagittarius, is focusing on friendships and social connections. And there could be, social events that come up that are quite fated, that connect you to other people that are meant to be on your path. So if you're invited to parties and things like this, that could be a time to go. Your tarot card is the Sun, which is about optimism, warmth, vitality, and success. I do think some of you, with this being in the 11th house, you could actually find yourself in the spotlight for something at this time, Sagittarius. Or you could find yourself really enjoying yourself, connecting with like-minded people, feeling like your inner child is happy, you're doing things that you really love to do, you're talking about things that make you very excited, or you're connecting with people who are bringing you a sense of joy. That's what I have for you, Sagittarius, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Capricorn, this eclipse is happening at the top of your chart in your 10th house, and this is to do with your professional life, but it is also to do with your goals. So since July of last year, the South Node has been going through your 10th house, and for a lot of you that can be that you left a job, you stepped away from work, you stepped away from a leadership position, you left a particular company, a particular industry, a particular role, whether temporarily or permanently, Capricorn. And it could be that for a lot of you, maybe you just really didn't feel that motivation to work, to focus on your goals, even though, you're a Capricorn and things like that. But this solar eclipse is a restart. It's a new beginning to take, what you've learned from this time period with the South Node in your 10th house, what doesn't work for you professionally. You maybe let go of some bad habits when it comes to your professional life or your goals, And by say bad habits, I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean that in terms of, maybe, for example, it was that you were working yourself, you were overworking yourself, or you were overly stressed, or you were staying in a role that really didn't fulfill you for a long time. And you've maybe learned quite a lot with the South Node. And it can also be that some of you have collected, karmic debts, or collected good karma. You've collected on it, because the South Node is karmic. It doesn't necessarily mean, it's all bad. Karma is neither good nor bad. It could be that you've maybe had some fated experiences and connected with people professionally who are really going to influence and help you along your path. This solar eclipse could be a new beginning for a lot of you professionally, whether that's a new job, a new role, a new beginning in your existing role, returning to work with the South Node there. It could be that perhaps you're stepping into a new position, you're beginning a new chapter professionally, you have a new endeavor, you have a new goal, something that you want to work on in the long run. A lot of you are wanting to start a goal or commit to a goal at this time, or you're maybe at the time of this eclipse achieving something or finding yourself sort of in the spotlight for whatever reason. Say you attend an event that you have donated to and you find yourself in the paper, or you are perhaps doing something at this time that gives you a bit of ambition and a bit of desire to achieve, or desire to move up the ladder, so to speak, Capricorn. You're very familiar with the 10th house because it is your house in astrology. So this new moon might be quite an ambitious one for you. But I also get the sense with the conjunction to Mercury for you that it could be a health goal with Mercury ruling your 6th house, or it could be perhaps a goal when it comes to traveling or relocating or studying, or maybe you have a new vision for the future when it comes to your career, your goals, that is a little bit different to what you were doing, and it's going to require different habits. Now, it is in a square to Mars in your partnership and relationship sector. So it seems, Capricorn, that maybe, there's a person in your life that is perhaps a bit passive aggressive about what you're doing. Maybe they're a little bit jealous or a little bit insecure about a goal or an achievement for you, or maybe they're just demanding a lot of your time. The ruler of this eclipse is Venus, and Venus is in your 11th house, which is to do with friendships. So I think for a lot of you, maybe at this time, with Venus being in a grand trine with Saturn and Mars, you could be finding that you have the support of friends or a team. I do get the sense that some of you could be attracting a little bit of jealousy or envy from other people at this time with your achievements or your new beginnings with your career. But I do also get the sense that you could be very supported with your friends, or you could be achieving something with your friends at this time, achieving something with a group of people, or doing something as well charitable, because the 11th house is to do with charitable endeavors as well, Capricorn. But I do think that there's likely a group of people that are perhaps quite excited to see you, or excited to take you on, or excited to work with you, or excited to help you achieve a goal. And Venus being in a grand trine as well with Saturn, your ruler, in the 3rd, and Mars in the 7th, I feel as though you will possibly be networking quite a bit at the time of this eclipse, or your new beginnings professionally will expand your social network or your connections, Capricorn. And your tarot card is the Ace of Wands. So I feel like a lot of you are getting your spark back with something work-wise, or in terms of a goal. You're getting a little bit of ignition when it comes to something exciting. Some of you could have a new passionate start begin at the time of this eclipse, something that you feel excited to do, excited to explore, something that just gives you a little bit more zest for life, is what I'm seeing there, Capricorn. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you later. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra horoscope for your zodiac sign. So Aquarius, this solar eclipse is happening in your 9th house. Now the 9th house is ruled in astrology by Jupiter, so it's quite broad in terms of what it contains. So I'll try and give you as many examples as possible. But since July of last year, July 2023, the South Node entered your 9th house. And the South Node brings about karmic experiences, and karma is neither here nor there. It's neither good nor bad. It just simply is. And for a lot of you, there's been this focus on traveling, on foreign locations, foreign lands, or religion, your spirituality, your beliefs, or your education, higher education. If you're in university, if you're in college, these topics can have been very important since then. So traveling experiences could have been kind of destined. They could have taught you a lot, or events that transpired in your university experience, they could have been karmic turning points in your life and your tapestry. But I think for a lot of you, you've learned a lot about either other cultures or foreign lands, or, maybe you've relocated and you're in a new environment, or maybe you've spent a lot of time abroad, or you've spent a lot of time studying, or you've really been reconsidering your beliefs, Aquarius. This is a bit of a new beginning with that. A lot of you could be, within the next month, traveling somewhere. And I do think for a lot of you, if you're traveling somewhere, you've been there before with the South Node, but it's somewhere that you could have actually been in a past life rather than this one. You could just find it very familiar. You could have a destined travel experience that represents a new beginning in your life. It could be for a lot of you that you're traveling for work, because the ruler of this eclipse, Venus, is in your 10th. So you could be having some traveling experiences that really shift your perspective or your mindset with that conjunction to Mercury. But it could be that you're traveling for work, or if you travel, you could be focusing on goals for the future while you're there and really thinking about it and saying, oh, actually, I really want to achieve this. Or you could be traveling somewhere that you'll actually work in the future and you have a feeling, but you won't necessarily know it right now. So for example, I think whenever I had eclipses in my 9th and 10th house, I remember going to Dublin for a trip, and I didn't realize that, I had no idea that a year later I'd end up working there for 2 years. So it can be that sort of experience where you go to a different country or a different city and you think, this place is really familiar. I feel like I've been here before, but I haven't, or I have a feeling I'll be back, and you just have this sort of karmic perspective shift. But it could be that a lot of you are planning a trip, going on a trip, and it does just sort of feel destined in some way for you, Aquarius. It could also be that you're beginning a new degree, you're signing up for university, you're signing up for college. Some of you could be going into your final semester and wrapping up a chapter, or your final year or something like that and wrapping up a chapter. And some of you could also be exploring something new when it comes to your spirituality. A couple of pointers on this. There's a conjunction to Mercury. Mercury rules your 8th house and your 5th. You could be traveling with children, or you could be perhaps traveling for work to see an investor or a client or something like that. The ruler of this eclipse being in your 10th house makes me feel like you are really considering the future of your professional life at the same time through the lens of travel or education. So there is a square to Mars though in your 6th house. I feel like some of you could be a little bit run down if you're taking a trip or you're traveling a lot. You could be feeling a little bit physically run down. Mars going through the 6th house, it tends to coincide with the times when people run marathons or people get really into the gym or people get really into fitness. But Mars is in fall in Cancer and is going to be going retrograde. Mars actually enters its shadow period on the 5th of October. Can you believe it? So you might actually find that you could push yourself that bit too hard and it could set you back a bit more. So try to take it easy if you're doing a lot of physical exertion at this time, or if you are traveling, just make sure that you're taking good care of your health. With Mars being in your 6th house at the moment. Mars, Venus and Saturn are in a grand trine, so I feel like when it comes to your professional success, the practical matters, money matters, you're a little bit more grounded, you're a little bit more aware of your negative habits, so to speak, when it comes to these different areas. You know, with Saturn in your 2nd house, it tends to push you to be more financially responsible. So I think for a lot of you, if you are, you know, traveling or you are studying, you're sort of maybe getting a little bit more practical when it comes to your money or your health, or you're taking care of yourself in a practical, mundane sense, Aquarius. I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but I think a lot of you are feeling kind of focused on how to take the best care of yourself you possibly can, and I would recommend it. Mars will retrograde in your 6th. This could take a bit of a toll on you physically. Okay, so your tarot card, Page of Wands, this is very exciting and it's very playful. And funnily enough, this card actually says traveler. So you could be traveling under this solar eclipse in your 9th house. In this tarot card, the guy's playing an instrument, so you could be traveling for a gig, traveling for fun, traveling for children, traveling for entertainment, and you could be receiving good news when it comes to travel plans, when it comes to children, or when it comes to something playful and exciting in your life, Aquarius. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra for your sign. Pisces, when I started this recording, it was light outside, now it's dark, and all I have are my candles, and it feels very Piscean / solar eclipse in the 8th, because that's where this eclipse is actually happening for you, so it feels very appropriate. The mood is mooding. Anyway, this eclipse is happening in the 8th house, so I feel as though for you, with it being in quite a secretive house, a lot of what's happening could be quite internal. It could be to do with your inner state. The 8th house is very psychological, but it can also be to do with financial relationships to other people. So since July of last year, July 2023, the South Node has been in your 8th house and will remain there until January, but this is the final eclipse in that house for you. So this seems to be a new beginning for you when it comes to joint financial relationships. So it could be for some that you are perhaps beginning a new chapter when it comes to your taxes, when it comes to a loan, when it comes to your grant, when it comes to your partner's money. There could be some sort of new beginning there. So whether that is that you're getting a mortgage, you're getting a grant, you're getting a loan, your partner has had a change in their financial situation. It could also be with the South Node that you're actually getting a tax rebate at this time. Some money could be coming back to you, money that you've already, made that is owed to you. It could also be a time when you're really committed to paying off debt, or you're really committed to improving your financial situation, Pisces. As I say, it could be a change in your partner's money or your partner's financial status if you have one, or if that's a business partnership, or if it's to do with whatever financial relationship you have with the government, so whether that be a mortgage or whether that be a loan, whatever the case may be. there could be some sort of change happening there. It could also be that you have a new beginning when it comes to an inheritance, or when it comes to something like that. For others of you, it can be entirely psychological. This could be a time when you're deciding you want to sign up to work with a therapist, you want to work with a counsellor, based on working through some baggage, some emotional baggage. The conjunction to Mercury makes me think that if you are wanting to work with some kind of healer, or work through some baggage or trauma with somebody, that could center around either, with Mercury, your family, because Mercury rules your 4th house, or it could be to do with relationships, because this is a solar eclipse in Libra, the sign of relationships, but also Mercury rules your 7th house of partnerships. So you could be deciding you want to commit to working through some emotional trauma with partnerships or with family as well at this time, Pisces. And the conjunction to Mercury also makes me think that for some of you, this could actually be a mortgage or a loan when it comes to property or home matters. And with Venus being the ruler of this eclipse and in your 9th house, a lot of this is centered around your beliefs. So it feels like if you are working through something painful, it's your faith is helping you, or your religious perspective, or maybe you're working through some sort of religious trauma either, that it could be that too, or you're working through your relationship to your faith or to your belief system. With Venus being in the 9th, it could also be that some of you are maybe taking a loan out to travel or to relocate to a foreign country, or it could be that you're getting a loan for university or college or something like that. You're getting a grant or something that can really help you with your university or college experience, or your travel plans, or something that you're studying, Pisces. And it could be really interesting for you actually in that sense, because if you are getting a loan to travel, I feel like with Venus in the Grand Trine, this is something that could be very enriching to you. There is a square to Mars in your 5th with this eclipse. So it feels like if there are maybe some, say for example, you have shared custody with your ex-partner over your children and there's finances involved there could be a bit of a disagreement when it comes to financial affairs surrounding your children with the square to Mars. Or it could be that if you're working through something psychologically, it could be to do with, as I say, your dating life, or it could be to do with whatever you experienced as a child, with Mars being there. It could also be that you're perhaps feeling like you want to channel your emotions into something artistic, or you feel like you want to address something on an emotional level, but it feels a little bit risky with Mars being in the 5th house. But Mars, Saturn in your 1st house, in a trine to Venus in your 9th, and a trine to Mars in your 5th. Some of you could be striking up a romance with somebody who is in a different country, long distance, someone who's from a different culture or a different background, or some of you could be studying something that you really love. You get a lot of enrichment from it. You got a lot of emotional fulfillment from it, Pisces. That can be something else that's going on for you as well with this particular eclipse. I do think for a lot of you that this is a new beginning financially, because your tarot card was the Ace of Coins, which is the Ace of Pentacles. And this is about new beginnings with finances, so abundance, security. But this card does actually say meeting somebody new. So that could be something that's happening for a lot of you as well. But I do feel like this is mostly a new financial beginning where you're more focused on your finances, on your savings, on your debt, on your financial affairs in general, Pisces. But that is what I have for you. I hope you have a great eclipse, and I'll talk to you soon.